we follow what Ukraine asked, what President Zelensky asked us, but we do not have a clear-minded strategy. I do not believe that authoritarian leaders necessarily tend to become more autocratic. And the problem is that we do not distinguish enough among the great variety of what we call strong men or strong leaders. I come back to Lee Kuan Yew. Now, Lee Kuan Yew, maybe the younger generation that doesn't have the name of Lee Kuan Yew in mind, but Lee Kuan Yew was the great strong leader of Asia. Everybody was referring to him until his death about 10 years ago. And he prepared his succession. So it so happens that the current Prime Minister of Singapore is his son, but his son is very bright and he was actually elected. So we should look at this issue of strong people in a more nuanced way. You know, a regime has to deliver. He has to deliver, that is, he has to make decisions, he has to set goals and to reach the goals. And over time, he's judged on that. It's a credibility problem. And that's precisely the weakness of democracy. And here you will allow me, Chairman, to make a point where I represent a minority on Ukraine. Ukraine, you said that we in Europe, we reacted together and so forth and so on. But we just followed the situation. We did not act, and we still don't act strategically. We just have one idea. We follow what Ukraine asked, what President Zelensky asked us, but we do not have a clear-minded strategy. We repeat, okay, Russia should lose the war. Lose the war, meaning they should just evacuate the whole of occupied territories, including Crimea. Is this, frankly speaking, is this a strategic goal? Do you really believe? I was reading this morning also the papers, the newspapers about the current visit of Kim Jong-un in Russia, and I read many columnists writing that maybe South Korea will be forced at some point to deliver weapons and so forth and so on to Ukraine, the kind of automatic reaction to the current events. Is this kind of moves, is this strategic thinking? I don't think so. So I think that the problem we all have is, I repeat it again, is efficiency. That's the big problem of democracy. So I suggest that we discuss this issue of efficiency more. I make another point that will probably hurt some of you. I think that the European Union is actually in a vital risk in the next 10 to 20 years. Why? Because as a consequence of this lack of strategic thinking, we have embarked on further enlargements that we will be obliged to do because the leaders will be pushed to do it unless they are strong enough to resist the natural forces. And if they do that, the European Union will become even more heterogeneous than it is today, and it will be impossible to govern it in an efficient way. So there is a vital risk on the European Union itself, and that's a part, to some extent, of the Ukrainian war. And if that happens, and if Russia is able to continue to occupy the territories or some territories in Ukraine, then we could say perhaps that at the end of the day, the Russians have won.